2 months ago, I took a simple 10-gallon aquarium and went out to catch some native species to raise in this tank. But they outgrew this thing fast, so I ended up turning it into a minnow breeding tank and upgrading them to a massive 40-gallon tank. But a lot has changed in the past 2 months, so today we're going to be giving an update on how fast these guys have been growing, getting some awesome feeding footage, and even adding some brand new species into this tank and the minnow tank. I'll also be announcing the names that I picked from last video, and I'll even need your help naming a new fish that we add into this tank. We got a lot of changes to go through and a whole lot of stuff to add, so make sure you stick around all the way to the end to get some awesome slow motion feeding footage, and let's get right into the video. Alright, it's been about a week since the last time we did an update on this tank, or at least the last time I videoed it, and the fish in this tank are doing super well. Something interesting is all of the grass has been kind of trimmed down by these fish, so they've been eating all of that algae that's been growing on these rocks, and so far I haven't noticed any of them floating or any of them dead, so that's a pretty crazy thing, especially with how many fish we have in here. But we're going to go ahead and feed these guys real quick and then go check on the other tank. Alright, we're just going to drop a few of these little fish food pellets in. Some of them float, and every once in a while there'll be one that sinks. But as you can see, these guys are kind of accustomed to eating these. It takes a minute for them to get soft enough for them to actually chew them up. But once they get soft, these guys start swarming them. Now, something strange I noticed is that fish right there. I have no clue what that thing is, but it's really colorful and it's shaped very different from the rest of those guys. So if anybody knows what that is, well, not this guy, he just stole the spotlight. That other one back there, if anybody knows what that thing is, please let me know in the comments down below. It's kind of hard to tell right now. This guy's taking all the focus from my camera. That guy right there. What on earth is that fish? Oh, it's really hard to tell because he's moving very, very quick. Anyways, we'll go ahead and come back to this once that food softens up. Let's go check in on the other tank. All right, the other tank is doing wonderfully. Now, no matter how many plants I add in here, the old crawfish keeps taking it and stealing it. We are going to announce the names here in a little while, but first, I just want to show you guys how all the fish are doing. Now, I've started to be able to kind of tell these guys apart. So Dill is the smallest one. We all knew that. But then we've got this one and that one. Now, this one down here is a slightly bit bigger, and then this other one looks a little bit darker on the side. So that's how I'm going to tell them apart, is kind of the coloration and the size. Dill is easy to tell apart, but the other one's not quite as much. And then, of course, we've got the bass hanging out back there as well. But so far, nothing has been causing any kind of issues. All of our algae's been getting trimmed up by the crawfish. And no matter how much I feed him, he still just eats everything out of this tank. But that's a good thing. That means when I add these guys into the pool pond, they're going to be super good at cleaning everything up. And I'm going to add some into the front yard pond to help clean that pond out up as well. But we're going to go ahead, feed these guys a couple of minnows, and then get to work on the additions that we're going to put in this video. It looks like some of that has started to soften and sink, and the fish are tearing it up now. This is a mixture of golden top minnows and mosquito fish, and what I like to do is take these smaller mosquito fish and use them to feed the fish in the other tank, and then I keep the bigger ones, that way they can breed. So whenever the bass and grass pike need to eat, I'll just scoop up a little net full of these guys and feed them directly to that tank. We're going to go ahead and drop these in. Now, it is a bit colder, so the bass isn't going to be as active as the other fish, but right away we should see some pretty awesome strikes, especially over in this corner, I think. Oh, there we go. Dill got his. He actually picked up the biggest one. Oh, missed it. Oh, we got the bass. The bass is about to ambush this one up here that's swimming. Nope, pickerel's coming out with this one. Boom! That was an awesome strike. Okay, the bass looks like he's kind of giving it up. This one's chewing him down. We do have another small one sneaking around back there, kind of close to Dill's eyesight. But my guess is going to be in these colder months, because this is outdoors. I'm kind of trying to simulate a natural environment. So right now it would be normally cold, even for these fish out in the wild. Oh, Dill's sneaking up. Oh, he missed. Oh, is the bass going to come get one? I figured it'd be a little bit cold for the bass, but... Oh, nope. Still got it. And this one right here is just somehow escaping their grasp. Oh, spoke too soon. As soon as I went to stop, the bass came up and got him. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get working on the stuff that we're going to be adding to this tank and the other one. In the last pool pond video, I had set out some fish traps and caught a whole bunch of baby bluegill or different types of sunfish, whatever. And today I'm going to be taking a couple of the small ones and putting them in this tank. All right, so I was checking my fish traps out here in the front yard pond, and we caught a whole bunch of baby bluegill. So we're going to take one of these guys and put them in with the bass and pickerel, and hopefully they'll live in there together. All right, first up, this one's small enough that I think he might get eaten. Oh. Pickerel went after him for a second. You see right there. Oh, crawfish is going after him. Oh snap. Okay. Oh, the bass tried to get him. I don't know. He might be a little bit too big for the bass. Okay, it looks like the bass is not able to get him, I think. Golly, that bass is menacing. I think this guy will get eaten eventually. I think that right now the bass just is a little bit full from the last time I fed him. So we'll have to see. It is maybe small enough for the bass to eat, but it's going to take a little bit of effort from the bass. So we'll add in another bigger one, and that'll be the last addition for the next little while, at least until we can get some little grass shrimp in here. I think we're going to go with this one. I believe this is actually a long ear sunfish, but I could be mistaken. And there he goes. Oh my goodness, that one added a lot of color to the tank. He is freaking out a little bit. Oh, is the bass gonna get him? Maybe not. Okay, well, that guy is the perfect size. Oh my goodness, the crawfish just got him. Oh snap. Okay, the pickerel actually took a chunk out. Oh my gosh, they're fighting over it. It looks like the pickerel won. He's got it still in his mouth. How is the pickerel gonna swallow this dude? That's my question. Okay, I'm interested to see how this is gonna work, or if it's gonna work. All right, just cut the lights out so that the glare isn't so bad. Oh, they're playing tug of war. The pickerel, because he's got those teeth, he's able to win those tug of war matches. For the next couple of minutes, the pickerel just kept twisting around the fish, trying to get it head first. That way he could actually swallow it. This is really interesting, but it does take a very long time. It's really interesting to see the difference between how a pickerel eats and a bass eats, because a pickerel will sit there and chew for a minute, and the bass just straight up swallows it whole. But for a piece of prey this big, I don't know how this pickerel is going to be able to maneuver it around with those back spines, but it seems like he's doing a pretty good job. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so far he's almost completely maneuvered it around, which is kind of crazy because he just had it by the tip of the tail a minute ago. Okay, he's got it head first. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I did not think he'd be able to do it. It looks like he might be a little bit stuck trying to get it into his throat. We're going to check back in here in a minute. I'm going to go put the rest of these guys into the pool pond. But then I got distracted after putting the fish in the pool pond and ended up coming back the next day only to see that he had completely swallowed it. All right, so yesterday I had to leave before I could finish seeing him eat that bluegill, but he has eaten the entire thing. And if you'll come out from behind there, oh my gosh, is he about to eat again? Oh, he tried. The bass beat him to it, but as you can see, his belly is bulging out. Of course, this guy's getting big too. He's a big back. He loves to eat. And then Dill, he's up there, and then that darker one is hanging out in the back. But they've all been eating really good. This guy right here, as you can tell, has been eating very, very good. But nothing has tried to breed just yet. I don't know when the pickerel breeding season is, but so far everything's looking really good in here. They're all growing super fast, like much faster than I had expected. I mean, this guy alone, he's been eating so much food. And I think he thinks some of this floating stuff is food. But they stir up their tank a little bit whenever it's feeding time, so that's why there's so many particles floating around. Usually this tank is fairly clear. And down here, our crawfish is doing really good. So I've added in some plants, and every single time I do, the crawfish just eats them. So at this point, I'm just feeding the crawfish with them. But I've accepted the fact that I'm just not gonna be able to have any plants in here that don't get immediately eaten. With him eating that giant fish yesterday, and for him to still be kind of trying to hunt, which I think, yep, that guy got him. Nice, dude, he slurped him up quick. I was about to say, if this dude actually goes and tries to hunt another one, I don't know if I'm gonna be impressed or scared at the rate at which these guys hunt. But I mean, look at this, watch this. Oh, maybe not. Ah, that bass, nope. Oh, that's the big one. That's the big one. Well, is he gonna be able to get it this time? I imagine if he could get that bluegill maneuvered in, he's gonna be fine getting the minnow. Come on, finish it. Don't play with your food. Now, I know that fish can eat a lot, but I don't understand how his stomach is physically large enough to swallow this much food in such a short period of time. Same thing with the bass. Here in a little bit, they're going to eat a ton of fish, and you'll be able to see just how much these guys can eat. But I was blown away at even when this guy was about to pop from food, he was still eating more. But to keep up with all of their appetite, I went out to the backyard pond and scooped up as many minnows, shrimp, and other bait fish that I could. The plan was to get the fish filled up on bait fish and then drop in some shrimp that can help breed in the tank and keep it clean. To catch the shrimp, I'm using a very fine mesh net and catching all of this vegetation, and inside that vegetation is all of these shrimp. Now that we caught a bunch of critters, it's time to bring them and feed them to the fish. I started off with a little frog to get the bass's attention, and that was a big meal. I was hoping that that would fill him up all the way. After that, I dropped in a bunch of bluegill fry and minnows, hoping that that would fill the fish up. But the bass was still hungry and continued to eat. Luckily, I was able to get some fish for the pickerel as well. But feeding them one by one wasn't going to work, so I decided to dump them all in at the same time. All right, we're about to add in a whole bunch of different critters, all at the same time. What I'm hoping to do is get these guys to get super full off of the minnows, and then I can add in the shrimp and they won't get eaten immediately. But it looks like the bass himself has eaten pretty much all of them. All right, can we get a pickerel to eat, please? There we go. Nope. Bass got him. Dadgummit. All right, that one is actually a dragonfly nymph, and it looks like it's not wanting to move right now, which is a good strategy, because if it doesn't move, he can probably survive for a good little while without being noticed. He's moving very slow, and he does look like a little piece of algae or something, so he might actually survive for a good little while. I know we did have one here in the last video, but I do not see him anymore. I imagine he definitely got hunted down and eaten. All right, here goes a shrimp. Is he gonna be hidden enough? Nope. Okay, we need to add more minnows before we add any more shrimp. All right, here we go. We've got a ton of minnows this time. I want this to be an absolute feeding frenzy. All right, the pickerel has started to strike, so that's good. Bass is still eating a ton. We want these guys to be super full. That way when we add in our little shrimp, there's nothing that they want to eat, and they'll be fully full, and those shrimp can survive all the way down to their little shrimp cave down here. So we just want to make sure that these guys get nice and full with all these fish. All right, there's several minnows swimming around, and they're not really targeting them right now, so I think it's safe to now add in our shrimp. Oh, wait, hold on. Golly, look at how fast those pickerel are. That one right there is Dill. I see one right here. I've got two right there. Oh, look at the accuracy. He even stopped before he hit that rock. I thought he might have hit his nose on that rock, but these guys are killers. Look at that. He got another one. Waiting to see what happens with that tiny one in the back. It looks like the bass is on him. Yep, bass is on him. It looks like our little bluegill is hiding underneath that root system. Okay, there's still one back there, and our little dragonfly nymph is still hiding out down there. Okay, I think it is now safe to add in the shrimp. I'm also gonna be adding in a little piece of hornwort for the crawfish to eat, so we'll add all of that in right now. These guys are luckily pretty hard to see in the water, so hopefully they go down undetected and they don't get eaten immediately. All right, moment of truth. Don't see him, don't see him, don't see him. No! Oh, he almost made it. Other one. Oh! Oh! Okay, he's on the ground. He made it. Now, is he gonna survive a long time? I'm not entirely sure. Not everything fell out, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to toss the rest of these guys in too. Maybe we'll start off with that little piece of grass just to trick them up. Maybe get them distracted. Put in another shrimp. Come on. Make it, buddy. Make it, buddy. No! 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 Ah! All right, this one is a little bit smaller. Is he gonna? Oh, he's not gonna make it. Wait, if the bass doesn't get him, he may make it. Okay, he made it to the bottom. He's moving around. Okay, as long as the bass doesn't see him and get him, that one should survive. We got one last one left. No, dang it. That bass is eating like 15 minnows and like 4 shrimp. I don't understand it. Where does it go? It does look like we have a shrimp right here that survived. Hopefully it doesn't get too close to the crawfish. Speaking of crawfish, there's our itty bitty baby crawfish. Please, no! Dang it! Spit him out, spit him out. Spit him out, you don't got room for that. He might be able to slip out. Keep crawling, buddy, keep crawling. He escaped! Oh, let's go. Let's get some W's in the chat for the baby crawfish. Speaking of crawfish, this one over here is getting close to his plant, so he might grab it in a second. Oh, I guess the bass couldn't quite fit it in his belly, so he spat it back out. That is awesome. It's kind of hard to see at this angle, but he's hanging out in the back right there. No! Dang it. That's one of the shrimp. He just got eaten by the pickerel. I don't know if you can see the little antenna sticking out of his mouth. Oh, man. All right, well, it's not exactly what I wanted to happen, but they all got a nice full belly, and a couple of the shrimp did survive. I think at least 2 of them did, so that's good. And then we had that little crawfish as well. So maybe they'll repopulate in here. Chances are I'm gonna have to catch a ton more to try and keep these guys from eating all of them. All right, it is also time to reveal the names for these fish. So Dill is the pickerel in the back. He's the top one, the smallest one. Now this big fat one, he's the heavyweight of this tank, so we're gonna call him Pike Tyson. For this really colorful one, I decided to go with the name Sarge. I just thought that was a really cool name. So we got Pike Tyson, Sarge, and Dill. And then for the bass, I decided to choose one of your guys' names for that as well. One of the suggestions that I thought was pretty funny was the name Sploop. So we're going with Sploop for the bass. And for the crawfish, since he loves to chop down every bit of vegetation I put in here, we're calling him Paul Bunyan. So we got Paul Bunyan, we got Sploop, we got Pike Tyson, we got Sarge, and then we have Dill. The only fish that doesn't have a name now is this little sunfish. So if you guys want to suggest some names down in the comments below, that would be awesome. If your name wasn't picked, I do apologize. There were a ton of different suggestions, and I could only pick 3 for the pickerel, 1 for the bass, and 1 for the crawfish. There were a whole bunch of cool names that I didn't get to use, like Spark, Flash, Spike, Edward Scissorhands for the crawfish. That was a pretty funny one. And all kinds of other ones. Vanilla. I read all the comments, guys, but I'm sorry I could only pick a couple of names. At this point, I was trying to see if the fish were comfortable enough to eat out of my hand, so I tried to dangle a worm in front of them. They wouldn't eat it out of my hand, but as soon as it hit the bottom, the bass was super interested, and he slurped it up like a spaghetti noodle. When I'm keeping native fish, I like to give them a very balanced diet of a whole bunch of different sources. That way they get all the nutrients they need, and it simulates what they would be eating in the wild. So the next thing I wanted to give them were crickets, and I had hoped that they'd get some really cool topwater blow-ups on them. However, this didn't really work out exactly as planned. Okay, this one's a little bit more lively. Oh, there he goes. Bass snatched him up. Now these are a little bit bigger, so I'm hoping they hold the fish off for a little bit longer. These guys have been absolute pigs. They just chow down on anything and everything. All right, next one up. Come on, pickerel. One of you got to do it. One of y'all got to do it. Come on. That first one was a little bit deceptive because after that, I could not get these fish to strike them on the surface. I did try to dangle them underwater and right in front of their faces and even dropped them really low, but I couldn't get the pickerel to get a successful bite. I was only able to feed the bass 2 of them. That's 2 for the bass and none for the pickerel. Okay, we got several floating around on the surface. Oh, he missed it. He barely missed it. Dill went after him. Come on, look, they're moving all over the surface. Come on, Dill. But even with about 15 of them scurrying on the surface, I couldn't get another strike out of them, so I decided crickets just weren't going to be a good idea for this tank. Even when they started to sink down to the bottom and kick around frantically, they didn't get enough motion to really attract the attention of the fish, which I thought was kind of surprising because the pickerel tend to be very aggressive. I guess they're just not huge fans of crickets. Well, maybe I had finally filled them up, but to test that, I dropped in a minnow and it immediately got eaten, so I know that they're just not huge fans of crickets. All right, guys, it's been a little while, and as you can see, the tank is getting a little bit dirty. We are going to clean it up here in just a little bit, but this light has a few problems. So the fluorescent lights that I got are not very bright at all, and it also gives a really bad effect when I try to do some slow motion footage. Fluorescent lights actually flash very quickly. We don't see it with our bare eyes, but when you do slow motion footage, it's easy to see. So we've got to change this light out. So as you can see, this light right here is not going to work. Luckily, we do have a new light that Hygger sent me. So this right here is my brand new light from Hygger. They sent this to me, and man, look at the difference that makes. For starters, I just turned the shop lights off so you guys could see. Look how much clearer and how much brighter it is. But also, if you don't want it to be quite as bright, you can change the brightness settings up to 10 different levels, from not very bright to very bright. You can also change colors. You can change all kinds of cool stuff for this. And one of my favorite settings is the fact that you can time this to where it's on for 12 hours, off for 12 hours, or any combination of the two. So for example, I have it where it turns on at 7 o'clock in the morning and turns off at 7 o'clock at night. But you can also set it to where instead of turning off, it turns into a night mode, and it has several different colors you can choose from. I personally like the blue just because it's not very harsh on the eyes. And then you can just go immediately back to daylight. It can run 24 hours, or you can have it set on a schedule. I have mine set on that on 7 o'clock, off 7 o'clock. And it seems to be working really well. It helps the fish kind of feel more comfortable. It simulates nature a little bit more and makes it where their sleep patterns are a little bit more regular. It also completely takes care of that strobing effect on slow motion footage and leads to some awesome shots. One of the things I've really been wanting to do a lot of is slow motion footage, but with those fluorescent lights, it just makes like a strobing effect on the slow-mo footage. But with these new lights, I'm able to get some really cool slow motion footage. So huge thank you to Hygger for sending that light. That thing is awesome. I ended up dropping in several minnows, hoping to get some shots of the bass and the pickerel, but this bass is such a slob that he just eats every single thing I drop in here, and I wasn't able to get too much footage of the pickerel jumping out. Luckily, this guy is not the most accurate because he does miss quite a few of the shots that he takes, but when you have a mouth that size, accuracy isn't nearly as big of a problem. He also must be taking some notes from the pickerel because he also catches them by the tail sometimes and then swallows them afterwards. This light looks so much better than the old one we had. Now we do need to clean this tank up because it's been a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and get that done and show you guys just how beautiful this tank can be. All right, it may not look like it, but I just cleaned up all of the glass. It is gonna take a second for all of these suspended particles to settle out, but in the meantime, I'm gonna go get our backing, that way they don't keep running into the glass. While that water is still cloudy, I'm gonna throw in some of the snails that we've been breeding in the minnow tank and allow these guys to live out in here. Now that we have a light that's actually going to grow the algae, we want to make sure we have something that can help combat that. And there we go. We've got our algae eater set up now. All right, we went ahead and put the back on, which you can't really see right now because when I moved the filter, it stirred up a bunch of this junk. But hopefully this will all settle out. Another cool thing is you can already see that the snail that landed there is already eating a nice little trail on that stick. So hopefully those guys will have a huge feast and they'll help take care of a lot of this algae. But we're gonna go ahead, give this thing overnight so that it can kind of settle out and all these particles get sorted out. And we're gonna see what this thing looks like when it's all cleared up again. All right guys, so it's the next day, but before we go and check on the big tank, let's see how this tank is doing. So I do allow a lot of this algae to grow because that's perfect food for both the fish and the snails and stuff that we have in here. And as you can see, a lot of this grass has been kind of chewed down that's been growing on these rocks. And that's from these minnows and the snails as well as the little shrimp. Because I did take a couple of the shrimp whenever we caught them out in the backyard pond and put them in here. In fact, I don't know if you can see him right there, but there's a little shrimp right there. We've got several others in here. I think we've got maybe 10 or 15 total. There's another one right back there. And hopefully we can get them to breed in here without being eaten and predated on. Is that the right word? Predatored on? Predated? Whatever it is. Anyways, hopefully these guys will be able to breed in here and then we can introduce them into the other tank. What I've been doing is basically taking a lot of the smaller fish from in here and using them to feed the other tank. And eventually I'm gonna do the same thing with those shrimp as well. So this tank is going to breed us shrimp, snails, and minnows, and that's gonna be a food source and a way to clean up my other tanks and the pool pond itself. Now I've been feeding these guys a diet of cat food, fish flakes, bread, pretty much anything I can get my hands on, and they also eat the algae. Now a lot of people told me in the last video that I need to keep this thing shaded or algae was gonna be a problem. The thing about this tank is algae is a solution, not a problem. It's a solution to feeding these fish. A lot of these guys eat that algae as their main food source, and then I kind of supplement with other stuff. So I do not want this algae to go away. I want this tank to always have algae. I just don't want it to be like clouding up the water too much to where I can't actually see the fish themselves. Of course, we still got tons of those snails chewing up all the algae on the glass, and they do a really good job of helping keep this tank clean. It's crazy to see these guys up this close, and if I didn't have a camera that could see it, I could not see this with the naked eye. With that being said, I don't know if these are snail eggs. These are some kind of eggs stuck to the glass. So we have something in here that's breeding. I don't know if that's shrimp. I don't know if that's minnows or if that's snails. The snail eggs look a little bit different, so I don't think it's snail eggs, but I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen that mystery fish. He likes to hide like underneath the rocks. I've seen him a couple of times, but I haven't been able to get him on camera. He is still in here. I do not know what species he is. I assume he's some kind of sunfish species, but he's just very dark and very strange looking. So if you guys could look back and tell me what kind of fish that is, that would be awesome. But anyways, I think it's time for us to go and check in on the other tank. All right, it's the next day. We've got the backdrop set up. It was a little bit foggy this morning. We've had a very warm day, which is not very typical for our winter time, but the glass was all condensated and has a whole bunch of water and stuff on the outside. So I wiped all that down and it looks a little bit cloudy, but that's not the water. That's actually just like the actual glass itself. With that being said, I think the background makes it where they're not going to run into the wall as much. Now they don't typically run into this front wall. I might eventually need to put some on the sides as well, but we'll keep an eye on that and see if they learn where the glass is. For right now, they did eat all of those minnows that I put in yesterday. The light's been working perfectly. It turned off right at 7 o'clock p.m. and turned right back on at 7 o'clock this morning. So everything's been working really well. If you want to pick up a light like that for yourself, check out the link in the description down below, and I'll put it in the pinned comment. I have gotten a filter before from Hygger, and it was super good, so I really trust their products, and I think you'll like them too. The glass keeps getting foggy again, so I'm trying to keep it clear while we get this footage. But we've got all the fish in here. They're all happy. They're all healthy, very well fed. You've got Pike Tyson, you got Sarge, you got Dill, and then Sploop. And then, of course, we got Paul Bunyan hanging out down there. Now, we do still need a name for this little bluegill slash sunfish, whatever that is. I'm not sure exactly what species it is. I thought it was a green sunfish at first, but based on how small the mouth is, I think it's something else entirely. But if y'all could give me a name suggestion for that, that would be awesome. And today's scripture comes to us from Psalms 18, verses 1 through 3. It says, "He said, I love you, Lord, my strength. The Lord is my solid rock, my fortress, my rescuer. My God is my rock. I take refuge in him. He's my shield, my salvation's strength, my place of safety. Because he is praiseworthy, I cried out to the Lord, and I was saved from my enemies." I hope the new year has started off great for you guys. I'm looking forward to another year of great content. Make sure you guys drop some suggestions for future video ideas or what you'd like to see added into this tank or the pool pond, and I'll make sure to read through those comments. As always, guys, Jesus loves you, I love you, and y'all have a great day. We have some awesome projects coming soon and some huge fish that we're going to be catching, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure to like this video if you enjoy this kind of content. I'll catch you guys in the next upload.